Hi guys, Morris here with another video. So I've always thought that Malaysia is arguably the best country in the world for expats when it comes to getting the highest quality of life for the lowest amount of money. So in this video I'll break down the cost of living in one of my favorite cities in the world, which is Kuala Lumpur, or as locals like to call it, KL. So if you're interested in moving to KL or somewhere else in Malaysia, you should check out this video I made in which I discuss all the reasons why you should consider relocating to Malaysia. In this video I'll tell you what you can expect to pay for things like accommodation, utilities, groceries, transportation, health insurance, and entertainment. Obviously, cost of living varies widely depending on your own living situation. Some people gravitate towards more frugal lifestyles, while others like to spend a lot more money on luxury goods or experiences. Similarly, a person's family situation will play a large role in how much money they will spend in a month, with families usually needing to spend more per month than people living on their own. In this video, I'll do my best to look at the true cost of living in Kuala Lumpur by breaking down the cost of living into 7 categories, and I've included timestamps for each section in the video description below. These topics include housing and accommodation, utilities like heating, electricity, water, and the internet, groceries and other food expenses, entertainment and recreation, healthcare costs, child and family related costs, and transportation costs, which will all be added together to estimate your total cost of living in Kuala Lumpur. So let's just jump right into it. So when looking for accommodation in KL, you will have to choose whether you want to live in a bungalow or a condominium. I'll start by breaking down the cost of renting various size condominiums, since I think expats will normally choose to live in a condominium rather than a bungalow. For expats with kids, you'll most likely find yourself living in one of the areas which is near some of the large international schools located in Ampang Hilir or Mongkiara, although international schools can be found in other popular expat areas like Bangsar or the Tropicana Gardens, Kota Damansara areas. If you want to get a better idea of your standard of accommodation, you should check out one of my favorite Malaysian YouTube channels, which is run by Sean Tan, where Sean provides in-depth tours of some of the most popular condo developments in KL. I'll make sure to link his channel in the video description below. So let's say that on average, a nice studio apartment in a popular expat area like the KLCC or Mongkiara will set you back between 1,500 to 2,000 ringgit per month. Similarly, a one-bedroom apartment in the same areas would cost between 2,500 to 3,500 ringgits per month. And larger 3 and 4 bedroom units in these areas would normally cost anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 ringgits per month. One thing I've noticed about apartments in Malaysia is some of the older ones that were built 10 years ago tend to be much larger than some of the more recently completed buildings. So if you're looking for a place that is over 2,000 square feet, you should look at the apartments that were built around 2012. So top tip, if you want to live in one of the areas, I would recommend checking Airbnb to see if any of these apartments are listed on the platform, so you can get test the building for a night or two before signing a long-term lease. I found that most of the popular large condominium complexes have apartments listed on Airbnb, which also makes a great option for digital nomads or retirees who don't plan living on Kuala Lumpur year-round. So you can also browse the apartments that are for rent by downloading the Property Guru Malaysia app. So if you don't like living in an apartment and prefer to live in a house or a bungalow, you can normally expect to pay between 6,000 to 12,000 ringgit per month to rent a nice bungalow in one of the expat friendly areas. I also wanted to point out that the prices I listed are for the higher end apartments and bungalows, which are often specifically geared toward expats, but you can get some pretty decent accommodation for as little as 900 ringgits per month for a studio and 1,500 ringgits for a 3-bedroom unit if you want to keep your monthly expenses low. Next category I want to break down is utilities like electricity, high-speed internet, and mobile data. In terms of your utility bills, for things like electricity, air conditioning, and gas will normally set you back around $50 per month for a studio apartment and $80 to $100 per month for a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. So a high-speed internet connection for your home will normally cost about 100 ringgit or $25 per month. Unlimited data plans for your smartphone will normally cost between 25 to 35 ringgit per month, which is only about $5 to $8 per month. Again, everyone's monthly budget for entertainment and recreation activities is going to vary a lot depending on what kind of hobbies and activities you like doing. But one of the great things about living in KL is that you can go out to eat or do other recreational activities. Can be quite cheap, particularly if you have an expat salary. So if you eat Malaysia's excellent local cuisine, you can often get a tasty meal for between 8 to 16 ringgit, which is only about $2 to $4. You'll find that you normally pay a lot less when you eat at a more simple open-air restaurant than anywhere that has air conditioning. But if you want something more Western tasting, you will have plenty of good options as well, which are still very affordable compared to other countries around the world. For example, a meal at a fast food restaurant like McDonald's will set you back around 12 ringgit, which is around $3. That's about 50% less than what you'd pay for a similar meal at McDonald's in the United States. Stepping up a level and eating a 3-course meal at a mid-range restaurant will normally cost about 40 to 50 ringgit per month or $10 to $12. While food at restaurants is priced well, alcohol can be a bit pricey when you compare it to the cost of your meal. For example, you'll typically pay between $3.5 to $5 per beer when eating out, which is often the same price of what you're paying for your actual food. If you go to your more typical expat pub or cocktail bar, you'll usually spend between 30 ringgit or $8 for a cocktail and 25 ringgit or $6 for a pint of beer. If you're a coffee lover like me, you'll typically spend about 11 ringgit or $2.70 for a Western style cappuccino. If you drink a more local coffee like kopi susu, which is basically coffee with condensed milk, you'll spend closer to $1 per cup. Looking at some typical leisure activities, a ticket to a new release at your local cinema will typically cost 17 ringgit or $4. For those of you who like to work out, a gym membership at a nice gym in one of the expat areas will cost about 180 ringgit or $43. Though if you live in a condo, you'll probably won't even need a gym membership since they usually have pretty good gym facilities in the building itself. When it comes to groceries, the amount you spend each month will vary dependent upon how much imported food products you plan on consuming, since they can cost quite a bit more than local products. Depending on your eating habits, you can expect to pay between 200 ringgit or $50 per week per person on groceries. However, if you plan on eating a lot of imported foods, I would probably add another $40 per week per person to your bill, which means that a single person would spend 800 to 1400 ringgit or $200 to $350 per month on groceries, while a family of four could expect to pay around $700 per month on groceries. But I think a lot of people actually find that their monthly grocery bills will actually be quite low, since they will usually eat out more, since eating out is such good value for money. So healthcare is another area where Malaysia can be quite inexpensive compared to other countries around the world. I think that most expats will get health insurance through their employer, but for those who don't, you should be able to get a decent health insurance package for a reasonable rate. So I think you should normally be able to get a good coverage for about 500 ringgit or $125 per month. But again, there are expats who pay quite a bit more and quite a bit less, since they often negotiate their rate in their home country before moving to Malaysia. So while most expats will probably be able to pay their medical expenses out of pocket, it probably makes sense to still get insurance, particularly for things like repatriation, in case you have a more serious condition which requires you to be flown back to your home country. So just as an example, if you were to go to a local public hospital, you only pay around $5 to see a GP and $30 to see a specialist. However, as an expat, you'll probably go to one of the private hospitals, which can cost a bit more. One great thing about seeing a doctor in Malaysia is that they all speak excellent English, so you won't need to deal with any language barriers like you would have in other countries in Southeast Asia. So every parent knows that children can cost quite a bit of money, and this is particularly the case for expats who often need to send their kids to expensive international schools. In Malaysia, you'll typically find that there are two categories of international schools, ones which are mainly populated by well-off Malaysians who want to give their children an international-style education, and ones which are geared more towards expats who want to continue following a similar curriculum as in their home countries. For the latter category, you'll normally pay around $7,000 per year per child at the low end, and around $20,000 per year at the high end for kids in high school. It's worth noting that international schools in Southeast Asia are some of the best in the world, and that ones in KL are no different. So if you're concerned about your child getting a good quality education, it is good to know that they will probably be getting a better quality of education in KL than they were back home. So unlike other countries where you might send your kid to a daycare, as an expat in Malaysia, you'll most likely hire a nanny, which should cost around $600 per month. So the last monthly expense category I'm going to cover in this video is transportation. KL has a good public transportation system, which is safe, clean, and affordable. A one-way short transportation ride on the monorail would cost about 2 ringgit or 50 cents, while a monthly My 30 pass would cost 30 ringgit or $7 per month. Taxis in Malaysia are also quite inexpensive. You will normally pay around 3 ringgit for the first kilometer, and then an additional 1.25 per kilometer. So an 8 kilometer or 5 mile ride will cost around 30 ringgit or $8. When it comes to car ownership, prices will vary quite a bit depending on whether you buy an imported vehicle or one which was made domestically, like ones from Proton or certain Japanese models. This is because the import duties on foreign cars are quite high. So a cheaper local car like a Proton Iris or a Persona will be around 37 to 42,000 ringgit or $9,000 to $10,000. Something a bit nicer like a Proton X70 will cost about 100,000 ringgit or $25,000, which for those of you who aren't familiar with these local cars, a Proton X70 is probably comparable to a Honda CR-V or a Toyota RAV4. However, these Japanese equivalents would cost at least 215,000 ringgit or $50,000, which is quite a bit more than what you pay for the same car in North America or Europe. So to summarize, your cost of living will vary quite a bit based on your own personal preferences and family status. I think one of the things that makes living in KL so great is that the standard of living is very high, and you can live quite nicely for a very reasonable amount of money if you do things like eat more local food, don't drink a lot of alcohol, and don't have many kids that go to international schools. So I think most single people could have a nice quality of life for about $1,000 per month, while a family of four would need about $3,000 to $4,000 a month to cover things like rent, utilities, transportation, and food costs. I'm not including school fees in this calculation since most employers will subsidize these costs. To put those numbers in perspective, I have calculated what these expenses would equal in terms of money and lifestyle in some of the more well-known cities around the world. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, I would appreciate if you hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really does help this channel. If you're interested in more cost of living videos or videos about living in Malaysia or other countries in Southeast Asia, as well as other parts of the world, why not consider subscribing? That's all for now. I hope to see you in the next video.